What is up, everyone? I'm Joe the Hoyos. I'm the host of Beyond the Woodline. And tonight I have with me Tim and Tom Conwell. How
What
you
is
guys
up,
doing tonight?
everyone? I'm Joe the Hoyos. I'm the host of Beyond the Woodline. And tonight I have with me Tim and Tom Conwell. How you guys doing tonight? I'm Joe the Hoyos. I'm the host of Beyond the Woodline.
I've got an echo going on.
Yes.
How you guys doing?
Not too
Good.
bad.
So, we were talking a little bit off the air before we actually came on. And how you doing? Thanks for joining the show. It had to be 22 years or so. I was out fishing with a gentleman, and he pointed out to my left. He goes, "Hey Joe, look, what's that?" And I looked. And there's a round disc, like a saucer, came just right above us, man. And I think that was probably like my first actual experience with anything UFO or paranormal. Yeah, we got a good look at this thing. It was like 300 feet above our head. Like I tell everyone, I think a professional baseball player could hit it with a baseball. And it took forever I'd say forever, but like 5 minutes total for it to get out of sight.
Wow.
And that's how slow it was flying.
Yeah.
And it made no noise. There was no light. I mean, there was no wobble. It was just smooth. And a couple miles down the road from where we're at, there's an airport where small engine airplanes come in, and you can hear them things coming in, from that distance. But this thing, it made no noise at all. No noise.
Wow.
And then at one time, what was that?
When it flew over, were you aware of the time?
Like I said, it was probably 2 o'clock in the morning. We used to go fishing like late at night.
Okay. Did you notice it being a whole lot later than you expected when you got home?
I get asked that all the time, and you're like, this is the only time I'll talk about this because you're the only one who's ever asked me this. I don't remember going home. I don't remember the ride home, and neither one of us spoke about this until like 2 weeks later.
That's typical.
And it was something that he remembered, and he said, "Hey Joe, do you remember? When we saw this, we were sitting on a dinner table." Like, yeah, I do remember that. And he's like, he goes, "Yeah, tell him what happened." So I told the rest of the people that were there eating with us, what happened. And I get asked that question. No one ever asked me that question, if I remember anything about that. But I don't remember the ride home. I don't remember. I mean, I know I had to get in my vehicle and ride home, but it seems like everything after that was went like that.
When you finally realized where you're home, did you start thinking to yourself, what happened? Do you think you lost time?
It's a really, really good possibility, but I don't remember ever thinking, "Damn, how did I get home? What happened last night? Did we catch anything?" Or I don't remember thinking anything like that. It's been 22 years. I don't remember thinking that. I don't remember feeling anything odd like that until he brought it up, and then it came back.
Once that settled in, and I'm talking down the road, maybe 6 months to a year, did you start having strange dreams?
I always have had strange dreams. I'll tell you this much, dude. Things didn't get strange for me until September, October of last year. I started meditating, and
that'll do it.
Yeah, that's when things started happening around here in the house. And I've talked about stuff like this on the show, but I woke up one night, and my whole room was just like this bright blue light, like someone had parked behind the house and had those ultra blue light headlights on. It was shining in, but there's nobody behind me. There's no way that I could get back to the car. I woke up and I saw the light. I saw my room illuminated, and then I went back to sleep. Just went back to sleep, right? There was another time when I had a strange dream, and I'll tell you this dream. I don't think I've ever told this story on the air. I had a dream that I was going on the freeway. It was me and my brother, and all of a sudden it got like so super foggy, right? And we couldn't see nothing. And I didn't want to stop because I told my brother, no, somebody's going to hit us from behind. But I was afraid of hitting somebody that I couldn't see either. But we could see the clouds in the sky, and the clouds opened up, and this big round spacecraft came down. You know, it was huge. It was big and round. And I told my brother, I said, look, see, I told you they're real. I told you they're real, right? And when I woke up, my whole room was foggy. My whole room just looked like someone had a smoke machine in here.
Huh.
And I couldn't get up. I tried with all my might, and I couldn't get up. And finally, I forced myself to stand up. But as soon as I stood up, man, I hit the bed again like a
You're weak.
Yeah. And then I went back to sleep. Yeah, that's like, and I have seen some little people running around the house. You know, I have seen stuff like that.
Yeah. If you had your initial encounter, probably when that ship came over, and they influenced you, and you've been
Tagged.
aware of them ever since.
Yeah, I think that's a very good possibility. But I also think that just me being open to the subject since I was a kid, you know, probably helped out too. But like I said, when I started meditating is when everything really kind of opened my head up or my mind up, or you know, and
The best thing is I would do is when you're meditating, ask for something to be shown. Ask to be, but you got to have your awareness
right.
when you're asking for this.
Oh yeah, I ask all the time for them to show themselves. And one day I woke up and I didn't see them, but I felt them around the room. I felt like I was surrounded. I felt like I was like surrounded. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like it was more than just. People say they get that feeling of being, looked at or like someone's watching them. I felt like I was like surrounded. You know? And like when I meditate, sometimes I'll see like their face, like right in my face. You know? So I've had that happen too.
I get just paranormal wise. I'll get woken up at like 3 o'clock in the morning for no apparent reason, looking at my basically bedroom door. I'm like, what do you want? I'm like, because I know you there. I can feel you. Just show yourself and stop, hiding. And next thing it goes, and I'm like, all right, I'm going back to bed because you bore me. Like,
yeah, and I'll tell you another thing. When I meditate, I always see this blue woman. She's blue. Yeah.
The what?
Oh, wow.
She's a woman. She's blue. I see her when I meditate.
Could be an angel. Could be
Sounds-
angels.
Sounds like an Arcturian.
I see her, and then I also see this other big hulking figure. I guess he's a man. He looks like a man, but whatever he is, he's huge and some hulking guy.
Well, if you're meditating, start talking to them. See if they can, give you some kind of information, because that's the best way of doing it.
Yeah.
They have to work with you as you work with them.
And people do ask me all the time too if I'm scared or if I'm afraid, and I'm really not. I mean, that's like I want to see it. I want to see it personally, and I want to remember anything that happens.
Well, that's where the hard part is, because everybody says things differently, but you might be ready, but your senses are not. So they might be only give you a different perspective before you're actually entering the whole, range of things. Because, it could take you maybe, an hour to 6 years to fully get the full aspect of your own self of meditating. I've been doing it for like the last 5 years, and I see little bits and pieces, but I feel like I hit a wall at times.
Right.
So it's like, no.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Like I said, it's only been 2 years for me that I've been like meditating, and it's only been maybe 8 to 9 months that I've really gotten good at it.
Yeah.
It was hard at first, and it still is hard sometimes.
I fall asleep through mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
have
what
no
I do.
problem. I'll sit there for 5 minutes. I'm out.
Yeah.
And there's psychics that I've talked to, like real good friends of mine, that some of them are been on TV, and I'm like, what is going on with me? They're like, what? I'm like, I fall asleep.
Right.
Like, I can't help myself. I get in position, I'm done. Like, it's like you put me in bed, I'm done. Like, and I've had a few of them just slap me aside the head and go, stop. And I'm going, what? Like, so it's like you got to let the things go. You got to let it, flow sometimes.
Yeah. But I enjoy it. It might sound strange, but I enjoy it. I enjoy whatever I'm shown or whatever I experience. I enjoy the hell out of it.
That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, enough about me, man. What got you guys interested in this field, or whether it be UFO or paranormal? And Tim, well, Tom, why don't you go first, Tom?
Okay. Um, I've always been interested in UFOs. I retired at 65 and raised two boys. I never really had time to do much of anything um, other than just stuff around the house and working with my kids. And then when I retired, I was looking for something to do. So I joined a paranormal team and asked Tim if he would like to join me. So we both joined the paranormal team together. Um, I had approximately, I guess, about a year and a half of nothing but paranormal stuff, and then the person running the team decided they wanted to expand into UFOs, and boy, I was all over that. I really wanted that. So the very first thing that I did is I started writing a series of blogs that were um, talking about physics and the kind of problems that we would have to solve in order for us to go there. They've already solved them, and I don't know what those problems were that they solved, but I certainly recognize the problems that we had to solve. And I wrote a whole series of those things and realized that there was so much information there that I should just put it into a book form. And I did, and that book is entitled Going Interstellar. Um, then Tim started getting his feet wet with the paranormal, and he has been involved with the paranormal and helping me out extensively with the UFO stuff by attending conferences and stuff. So,
Yeah, Tim. So what got you interested in the subject?
Well, I remember seeing something when I was a kid. I believe it was my grandfather. And I still question to this day of who, what, where, how kind of thing. I'm one of those people, but unfortunately, I got to start believing what I see now. But watching the shows and asking my father asking me to join the team, I was like, well, absolutely, because now it's going to start maybe answering some of my questions, and it still hasn't. But then from getting my feet wet, I started learning that I do have abilities, that things that are happening to me weren't everyday life. And this was a little bit more extensive, being an empath and insensitive, but also now realizing slowly, actually seeing things. I'm getting video clips of certain things that happened in the past that relate to people. Um, and it's just more and more progressing in so many ways. And then going out doing the conferences for dad, because the traveling and all that is too much. So a lot of people are seeing me on both sides, but I push his stuff as much as I can because it's his information, is his research. in short realm.
So I know people do UFO. I mean, like paranormal investigations and stuff like that. Do you guys do UFO investigations?
No. I never did. I don't think Tim has.
Not
Uh,
yet.
as far as the UFO investigations, when you go to do one, the event's already occurred and it's over.
Right.
It's gone. Um, and all you can do is go out and interview and get people's stories. So I never really thought there was any need for doing that. I was never interested in doing it. Um, so I never tried to get myself involved with MUFON or anything like that. Uh, besides, I was 65 at the time when I retired, and I didn't want to just push it and burn the candle at both ends. Um, if I were like 40 and decided to do it, that would be a whole different story. I could juggle two things and do my job and go out on a field investigation or whatever else. I was just never interested in that. So what I did with the information that I found is there's a database. It's called the National UFO Reporting Center, and they have probably 100,000 sightings in there from all across the United States. And in with each sighting, there's a short version and a long version that the people who made the sighting got a chance to include with their um, with their entry. And that's where I got my data and utilized that and put that on a big map, a UFO sighting map. And I was looking for correlations there between the types of sightings and uh, whether there was groups of sightings for any particular reason. And I fashioned my next three books about that. They are here. So that's what got me going. But the actual investigation of them, it can be pretty extensive and overwhelming.
What about you, Tim? Have you done any kind of like investigations, or is it just like your dad said?
To me, investigation is more like you're doing a history research because, like as he said, it already happened. So really, you have one person to talk to, and hopefully pray to God that someone else saw it, maybe 30 miles away. But how are you going to find that person? Only unless they report it. So me, I don't think that's even worthy to even try to get involved because it just you got to find the right person, go for the earth, go. I'd rather go outside and look at the stars, and because we've done one of those UFO sightings, whatever it is, like out in the desert when we went to out in Vegas, and we had these goggles, and having these night vision goggles, you see things that should not be there. I mean, satellites, yes, but then you see things that whip by like this. There's a problem. I'd rather do that than even try to do a research because I saw the book that MUFON has, and it is way like there's a line. How much research can you really do for one sighting?
Right. So when you do like your UFO, I don't know if you would call it investigations or report. Uh, what's one of the more fascinating things that you come across that you can talk about?
For me, I asked if they actually saw something, and if they saw something, what did you see? And what was the shape? Was there color? Was there windows? Was there sound? Was there speed? Was there, that kind of thing? Wings. I usually call it the 5 criteria, because if it's a Cessna or like one of those little tiny planes, okay, you're off. Like, is there a blinking light? Okay, that's nothing. That's basically one of ours. So, you know, I want those, that criteria to understand what you actually saw. If it's a square, what kind of square? Was it big? Was it small? What was the speed of it? Was it moving? That kind of thing. Tic Tac, same thing. What was its shape, size, speed? Was there wings? Was there, flashing light? That's what I, try to push when people start describing what they saw.
Is there a common UFO that people see, or UAP, I guess now the appropriate term? Is there one that's common that people see?
Yeah. One of the most common is just lights in the sky, things that are significantly far away, and all that you can tell uh, from the ground is you just see a light moving. Um, who the heck can tell what that is unless the light does something very, very unusual? Um, if there's blinking lights off of it, again, that's something that's seen very, very often. Um, so most often, the sightings that are reported by people out either getting a cigarette or walking their dog, and they had just happened to look up in the sky because there's nothing else to do, and they'll see something flying by. Rarely do they see something that is significant. Rarely. Um, but lights in the sky is probably the number one thing. Um, the number two thing is probably spheres, just like a ball in the sky. I've seen them on multiple occasions, and quite frequently they are multicolored. Um, and sometimes they even look like they have um, they're made out of fire, like the whole thing is burning. um, they're called fireballs. A lot of the times the spheres are just way up in the sky, and you can tell it's a sphere shaped, but that's about it. Then you see uh, the triangles. That happens again very frequently, uh, and and then it drops down from there with various types. There's probably about 50 types of things that are seen in the sky, and I've always suspected that a lot of the things seen in the sky are um, they're actually the same thing, but seen from a different perspective. So, and in other words, let me give you this example. Um, where I sit in this room here, uh, to my left there is three great big windows right next to each other, and um, we're also on a landing pattern to the Albany International Airport. Now, when the planes start coming in over top of us, you can just tell it's an airplane, and you just take a glance. Okay, that's another plane. That's another plane. But every so often, one will one will come up from a little bit of a different angle, and you won't recognize it.
Right.
And you just stare at it and stare at it, and then all of a sudden it moves over to the point where it's getting right on its glide path, and then you see all the lights, and oh, that's an airplane. You know, a lot of times that's what people see in the sky. The same things looked at from a different perspective. Um, But that's pretty much it. Like I said, there's a lot of different things seen, and that's about 50, probably up to 50 different types of things seen in the sky.
Yeah, I put up a picture. I want you guys to take a look at this.
Oh, it's a triangle.
Yeah, my daughter actually saw this one, and she said that the black circles were red, and the one in the middle was white.
Zoom in.
And
Okay.
but the black circles were red lights, and the one in the middle was a white light.
The one in the middle was a white light?
Right. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of the ones I heard described, they're white on the corners and red in the middle.
Okay. Well, she drew this for me recently, and she saw that maybe 15 years ago, so maybe she got that mixed up.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so that's a possibility. But
Yeah.
yeah, she saw it when she was maybe 14 or 15. She's 20.
Yeah.
More now. Yeah, she's 25 now. So yeah, she saw it like 15 years ago. She drew this maybe within the last 6, 7 months. I was getting a lot of activity here.
Has she had any experiences? And the reason I'm asking is because you've had experiences and you've seen craft in the sky close up, and she's seen a craft in the sky close up, and usually that doesn't happen with children.
Right. I don't think she's had any experiences. I've asked her since then, and I don't think she has. She doesn't think she has either. But
Okay.
what was weird about her encounter, or bird sighting, is that she was actually going south to like a place called Raymondville, Texas, which is like going towards the border. And she was going. She was in the back seat. She was a passenger, and she happened to look up at the window. It was dark outside. And she saw the lights. She thought it was her phone, like reflecting off the window because she had her phone sitting on her lap. So she looks down at her phone, and her phone was actually turned upside down, and the screen was off anyway. So when she looked back at it, she said it was following the car. Then all of a sudden, when she saw it that second time, it shot backwards. Like she said, just like that, it just took off backwards.
Wow.
She said it looked like it was actually like skipping backwards.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of people have seen stuff like that lately.
Yeah, and she said the way it moved was it reminded her of that movie Jumper. Where that kid was like he was able to like teleport.
Yep.
Yeah, she said that's the way it shot backwards. That's what it reminded her of. Yeah, she's actually seen that one twice in her life.
Same location?
No, different locations. That one was like going south of Texas. She saw the second time she saw it here in Houston.
Huh.
If someone has a question here, is it possible to have some sort of portal not seen with the naked eye but on camera?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I saw one night that occurred over top of my head. I was on vacation. My wife and I were on a bus trip, and I was on the deck of this place where we were staying, and I was looking out onto the lake. It was beautiful. It was like sort of an inlet. It wasn't like the full size of the lake. It was like sort of an inlet there. And I was looking across at the lights on the other shore, and they were reflecting in the water. And I always thought that was interesting. And just staring at it, it's very beautiful. And then I heard "look up." I looked up, and just then there was this super bright red flash that happened above me. And after that, from the center of this flash, this thing just took off straight out from it and disappeared over the horizon. Now, this whole event took approximately a second, maybe a second and a quarter. So it was like flash, pew, gone. And I never would have seen it ever in a million years unless I followed the directive look up. So these portals happen all over the place. They aren't picked up on camera unless they are
Really good cameras.
yeah, really good. I don't know if anybody would have seen this. They may have seen a white streak from it, but unless it was a special kind of camera, like the one that Tim described to you before, psionics, um, that was a night vision camera. That's the only way you would have seen it, because the flash was red, and of course that won't pick up very well on night vision.
Now,
You just reminded me of something too when you said you saw the flash take off. My son saw something like that. I just remember that. When he was young, he was in the Boy Scouts actually. He was on a camping trip.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember him telling me about that.
I'm sorry, who saw that?
My son did.
Oh my goodness! Well, you have some action going with your
just jogged my
family, don't you?
memory. Yeah.
Yeah, you have some real action going with your family. So
pay attention.
yeah, pay attention.
There's one thing about that portal side. I can't remember what episode. I think it was like the second, maybe third episode before the season finale ended. Skinwalker Ranch.
Right.
They actually caught something that they thought it was a portal itself, because in the camera view they actually saw it, and next thing, like over here, it just disappeared. But what about this area here? It just kind of went boop, that kind of thing. And they even thought it was like some sort of portal, or going in, because it was black.
Yeah, we just like a black space. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I remember watching that. Now, I was going to ask you guys about Skinwalker Ranch. What you guys think about that?
I want to go there.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I mean, I have so many questions, and a friend of ours I think they just met them at one of the cons near her, and I'm like, you got to ask them this, you got to ask them this. She's like, oh no, Tim, I'm not. I'm like, hey, you talk about this, you post all this stuff on the Facebook, questions be asked.
Yeah.
She goes, yeah, I know. But she has a list on her own self of theories, but it's just like there's too many questions. They see stuff almost like every episode, so it just doesn't make sense with a lot of the scenarios.
Let me ask you guys another question. Something I always like to ask people in the UFO field. What are your guys' thoughts on the Bermuda Triangle?
Nah, nothing going on there.
Do you think it's a lot of natural phenomena that happens there?
There's probably some natural things going on there, and I would not be surprised if there was a underwater base there. And there's probably some magnetic anomalies that confused a whole lot of ships and planes in years back, until they had better electronics, and that stuff doesn't happen as much anymore, or as profoundly anymore. So I don't think there was very much to it, other than magnetic anomalies from below the ocean, and perhaps even uh, another civilization living under there.
Right. Because one of my favorite stories from that is from when a pilot took off. I forgot where he was going, but he wound up getting to his destination like 45 minutes faster than normal.
Yeah.
He wound up with like 10 gallons extra of fuel than he would have had if it was a normal. And you probably have heard where he went through like, I guess, like a portal or some kind of vortex.
Yeah.
Right.
I
But I
remember
do
that
believe
was on.
that stuff happens naturally also. I think it probably happens, he was probably in the right place at the right time. And of course, that's just my opinion,
Yeah, that was on Ancient Aliens, wasn't it? That
I think
description.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's been on a couple of different.
Yeah, it's been a kind of different shows.
Yeah, and even like on YouTube, I think there's been a YouTube for talking about that. But do you guys think that stuff like that happens naturally, whether it's vortexes or portals? It's just part of the natural order.
Yeah, I think there's there's vortexes all over the place, and they can transport you from one place to another. And I would not be surprised if there were portals that would take you to another system somewhere.
And would you think that some of those, like I said, just happen naturally, just naturally occurring?
Possibly.
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe a little bit off the subject, but I kind of think, when they talk about like the missing 411 or missing people, I think sometimes people might walk into a portal without even realizing it, and boom, you're gone.
Could be a lot of the people reporting, reported missing. These people are in really far out areas, and they could very well either be taken by another civilization, um, fall down a hill and never to be found again. There's all these different scenarios, and every single thing's on the table for them.
The ideas, the searching, the thoughts, the aspects. It's just the what if.
I agree with that too. I think there's a lot of factors involved in that.
I think just popping my head, if we really want, and I don't want to say this because I don't want to think about it, but if the aspect of what if, then we all need to get implanted with a chip so everybody can figure out who, what, where, how. And if there are portals going on and these people are ending up somewhere else, okay, that's the only way. I mean, well, I don't think that's going to, fully happen, but it is slowly happening.
You mean so that the people can be tracked?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we have the technology to track them yet. But it seems that the ETs have the technology to implant you with something that is part biological and part electronic, and utilize your nervous system to power it, and track you wherever you happen to go. So if you happen to be taken, they'll find you no matter what you do.
Right.
And Isabel here says she sees orbs, a lot of activity on my camera at night. A possible portal has been lingering above my neighborhood for a few days now. I see UFO-shaped clouds that go in and out and don't come out. That go in and don't come out. It's just the shadows. If you got it on camera, send it to us, Isabel, and I'll get these guys to take a look at it.
Yeah.
Tell you if you've got something or maybe you don't. It never hurts to look at it if you're being,
just be careful. Dust could be, or orbs could be dust.
Right. Yeah, and it depends on what size orbs you're seeing too.
Right.
Yeah.
You're seeing, you think bigger than a basketball. It's probably not dust.
Well, you never know.
Right. Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Especially, I don't know where she's at, especially here in Texas.
Yeah.
Right.
I saw something tonight that was a cloud in the sky. It was absolutely massive, and it was a perfect square.
Oh wow!
Perfect square. I mean, perfect sides, top, everything. Just a perfect square, and there were these little black lines around it that sort of looked like clouds, but it was so odd that I made a posting about it. I didn't take a picture because it was just as I was driving through construction, and that would have killed me. But yeah, it was very strange, very strange.
Now, I've learned with that, and I even got it on his car, but I guess he didn't have it hooked up. I drive around most of the time with a dash cam.
Right.
Because the one time that I saw something, I was driving like 55, 60 miles an hour, and I'm seeing this thing that goes across the street. Slow as dirt, everything else. And after that, I just realized that, a dash cam that with two cameras, one facing like almost a 90 degrees, and the other one's like a 45 degrees. So I'm getting, a full diameter of that whole area. But again, I probably won't see anything because they're going to go, yeah, this dummy's trying to record us.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I was going to ask you guys, but I wanted to shift the gears to paranormal side. Well, no, I was going with the portals and vortexes. People, certain areas seem to have portals and vortexes. Do you think they're all one and the same, or you think there are some for UFO and some for paranormal?
They're probably two different things. Since we don't know exactly what they are, I think it probably gets confused in our own terminology. I've always thought that if you have a portal, a portal has to open utilizing a large amount of energy. So you have this machine that transmits your energy and it opens up the portal. Okay. Now, the other things that are there may or may not open um, because of energy and are existing naturally. And these things are probably only big enough for a person to go into. The other things are definitely large enough for a large ship to come in or out of. And those are the ones that are created by ET.
So this young lady right here says Manitoba, Canada. People have seen strange lights in the sky at night or early morning. Canada's a pretty active area too. It seems from my experience, a lot of people in Canada see a lot of stuff. And,
Yep.
like I said, I got friends in Canada that keep me in the loop and down on your list or something. So.
Well, since 2001, utilizing the various databases, there's been nearly 175,000 sightings in the sky of things that just don't make sense within the continental United States. Canada, there's no reason in the world why Canada's any different.
Right.
And it's not much different no matter where you go. There's a lot of things in the sky that we don't understand and are natural. There's a lot of things in the sky we don't understand and are visitors. So I'm not surprised by the comment. There's strange lights in the sky in virtually every area of the country, of the world. Excuse me.
Yeah. And there's a lot I want to talk to you guys about. We're 45 minutes into this thing, but I wanted to ask you, Tim. The Ouija boards behind you. Do you ever participate in Ouija board sessions?
I've done it a couple times. One when I was a kid, scared the living daylights out of me. Me and a friend of mine were just messing around and see what it is. What was it all about? I think we're under the age of like 12 or something like that, and that thing started spinning, and we just looked at each other like we're done, kind of thing. And one night when I was on an investigation, I was watching because I was trying to pick if a Ouija board is really true or not. So I was that person being like that idiot, that kind of thing, testing everything, watching everybody's hands, movements, whatever the case may be. And we got a few good things out of it, but I still sat there and go, well, I don't know. No recording, no nothing from that. It was just, answering some certain questions, yes or no, and, spelling out something. But with those Ouija boards that I have, I won't touch them. I've done my cleansing. I know a couple people that actually had them in their hand, who are very sensitive and have the psychic abilities, that said they are closed. Do not touch them, kind of thing. Because like they basically said it will open and you're gonna have some bad luck.
So yeah. With that being said, so many people in the paranormal field, there are hundreds of paranormal teams. They're like, don't mess with them, don't mess with them, leave them alone, don't touch it. But they're out there, they're available.
Yes.
So it's like somebody's messing with them, somebody's touching them.
Right. Well,
what is the purpose of a Ouija board?
I can't remember when they actually started. It was like what was it, 1800s, late 1700s. They were using for communication, side. Nowadays, people are saying, "Oh yeah, let's communicate," but really don't know how to really use them correctly. I mean, I've heard stories that bad luck started happening with certain people, and they tried to destroy it, and worse things came, to all heck. I don't know if I can believe it, but that's what they say.
Right. I've heard of people throwing them away or getting rid of them, and they go right back down.
Yeah.
I've heard people tell me this.
But I mean, there are ways of doing things. The main thing is, if you play with it, just say goodbye. Make sure it says goodbye, because if you don't do that, it's still open.
Okay.
From a few people that I know that are very well, and I can't say expert, because there's no one as expert in this field, but more knowledgeable and playing with boards that were taught when they were kids to that point. Make sure you close the board, and that's saying goodbye, because that's what I understand. You're closing the board. Me, their decoration, they're old and they're staying that way. I mean, there's two that are collectibles. Well, I got one that's almost 100 years old. Everybody says, well, what if it starts playing? Well, the planchette, the boards are there. The planchettes are way over, like there. They can't jump to the wall.
Well, okay.
So, like, they're there. They're closed down. I use my sage when I need to. I do like wolfsbane and stuff like that every once in a while, just to make sure, me is calm, but they're good and happy.
So do you do paranormal investigations at all?
Yes.
What are some of the, scariest places you've been to? Something that really scared you?
I can't say nothing that scared me yet. I've had things that bothered me that I question, that I've ran after, dark shadows. Like I was at one time, my first team, we were doing an investigation. I think that you're with us, or you're in another part of the area. There was like 20 of us in this one little room on stairs, and I'm looking at this corner. I see a shadow. I bolted right at the shadow. Everybody got scared. They're like, "What happened?" I went, "You didn't see the shadow? I was watching the whole corner, like movement and everything." And they're like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, you scared me." And I went, this is going to happen. Like, come on now. So, I mean, I've been touched. I've been pushed. I've been scratched. My shirt has been tugged on. I've heard voices in my ear. I'm standing there going, I don't see anything. Like, okay, I got scratched. My neck burns. Now what? Kind of thing. But I know when I'm leaving, I'm doing my own thing to keep things calm and stay at that location. But I haven't seen anything scare me, question a lot. But I know my guides that come in. I have my grandfather that comes in. I can smell his pipe. Every once in a while, another family member comes in. family friend that I know that comes in very well. And my two guides, one of them is an Indian. When I start smelling something, I know he's like right on my shoulder going, "You're fine. Don't worry about him." Kind of thing. And I'm just, I just keep pushing. Everybody's running that way. I'm like, guys, wait, come, we're doing this. So, I've laid on, what are they called? Tables that they do on autopsy. I've pushed the limit to a certain level. I've apologized for the things that I've done because, like, one time Dad and I were at Rolling Hills Asylum in New York, out in Buffalo. I literally was getting choked. Like, I couldn't talk, I couldn't breathe, because stupid me, I was pushing the limit. I was banging things, I was moving things around, and I couldn't talk, I couldn't breathe until I'm saying in my head, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm like, I can't breathe, like, and it stopped. And I'm like, sorry, I'll leave you alone. And it stopped. But I'm sitting there questioning, he's looking at me going, what is your problem? What happened? I'm like, couldn't breathe. Like, I'm done. So I've been threatened to be put into like certain locations. I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, this is what paranormal is. Like, yeah, you might be afraid, but suck it up. Throw some Depends on or something. Like, go.
There you go. Yeah.
But that's just who I am. Like, I think a lot. I try to process, but I'd rather go in and see what's going on. I know I'm protected. I know my boundaries. I know my areas. So if I don't like it, I will get out, reset myself, and go back in.
That's good. Good. And what do you do to protect yourself, whether you're going in or coming out?
Going in, I'm automatically saying St. Michael in my head. I call on my guides. I call on my family members that want to be around. I start thinking of certain things that I need to do. I do have a couple crucifixes in my pockets. I have my stones that I carry that do a well protection on me. And I do have I can't remember what it's called. I don't know. Priests have them with the beads around it with the cross.
The rosary?
There you go. I had a special rosary.
Really good Catholic, I see.
Yeah. Thanks, man. You taught me well.
Yeah.
I've had that blessed, for 3 different priests. So I know I'm like in a direction I need to be.
I lived in a house and it was paranormal activity there. And, you talk about a dark figure, a dark shadow, and my kids have seen that in that house too. I've seen one night when I woke up and it was standing right next to me, and I threw a kick at it, but it wasn't trying to scare me. I got scared. It's a scary thing when you wake up in the middle of the night. There's this big dark figure. Well, it wasn't big. It looked like a woman, and so I was up here. She was standing there. She was a tiny thing, but
right.
I think it was maybe the previous owner.
Here's a question. In that time frame, have you had a family member pass away?
Yeah. We think it was my father that he was around the house also, but I think it was the previous owners that were there also. They were the only owners of that house. They lived there their whole life, and they died in their 90s. And then the house was empty for like 5 years before their kids finally sold it, and we moved in. And right away we started getting stuff. I felt someone sit on the bed. I wasn't even there maybe 3 or 4 days, and somebody sat on the bed. That happened twice. Within that first week too, my daughter saw a flash come out of her closet. The closet was open. There wasn't even a light bulb in there. It was in the middle of the night. There was a flash. We see figures. My son actually saw a hand, come out and like touch him on his arm. Yeah, it was a crazy house. But it was nothing scary. Nothing that was, I think, intentionally trying to scare us. It was just, I guess, maybe letting us know that they were there. Like I said, my dad was always around. Even when I moved to San Antonio and came back to Houston, I stayed in that area for a couple of years, and then I moved back to Houston. He followed me both times.
And
And I know,
that's when your dad passed.
yeah, he was. We were maybe in that house maybe a couple of years before he passed, but even before he passed away, we were noticing all kinds of activity in that house.
Is he a drinker?
My dad, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, it was your dad.
He loved some beer.
I don't know if you were looking at my face trying to figure out what was going on. I was trying to figure out him.
I knew.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was your
And,
dad.
so what's
I'm
really
getting a
weird?
taste of beer or something.
Oh yeah. He loved beer. He loved to smoke. His last few months of his life, he wasn't able to do that. He had a couple of small strokes, and a couple of strokes is one big stroke. Because he had them pretty quick back to back. Um, but yeah, he was. He loved to drink, and even though he wasn't supposed to, he still loved the beer and cigarettes, and we weren't going to stop him. We couldn't stop him. So, and he wasn't like an alcoholic. He loved beer. Like I love beer.
That was him.
He would
I'm
lick my
trying
light
to get a
switch.
sense from. This is the first time that's happening to me. So, I mean, this is unusual. There's a scent that he had, but I can't picture it. So I can't tell you like a scent, a smell. Like, I don't know if it's the beer or a cologne or something that he liked. And I can't picture it.
He wore cologne. He loved cologne. I'm the same way. I love cologne. But I was trying to see if you can tell me the exact scent that you're picking up, because there was a scent when he passed away. My brother smelled it that night, and then my nephew smelled it that night. And then
Lavender's come to my mind.
what is it?
Lavender, but I don't know why.
I don't know. He used to smoke. I mean, he used to chew juicy fruit. That was his favorite gum. So my brother smelled juicy fruit one night, and then my nephew smelled it. And that was the day he passed away.
I haven't touched that stuff in years, so I can't remember. But it was a scent. But that's unusual for me. So wow, put that one in the record book, Seth.
Yeah, and what's funny is that he would turn my light switch off and on, or flick the lights on. He would pick. I mean, and you could hear the light switch just flick. And then my uncle told me just last week. He called me and told me that he heard me tell this story before. That when my dad was living in my grandpa's house, after my grandpa passed away, my dad moved in there, and he lived with my uncle. And my uncle passed away, and my uncle would flick the switch for my dad, the light switch. And then when my dad remarried and moved to Pearland, which is south of Houston a little bit, the doorbell would ring, and the doorbell wasn't even connected.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And my dad was like, "Oh, that's my brother Joe. Let me open the door for him." You open the door. Come on in, Joe. That's what he would. Well, cool,
When my
man.
grandfather passed, I don't even know. I was in second grade. Yeah. I got his pipe smell for 4 or 5 years.
Really?
And every once in a while I'll get the scent and I'm like, all right, so it's like a sweet, harsh, can't remember. It's like a sweet smell that I loved because I knew it was him. Oh yeah. But that's him.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I think
put us off track.
No, that's great. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think he was around me for a while, just keeping an eye on me. Me and him were really close. He was my best friend, actually. So, and what's funny, here we are talking about him. My nephew literally just texted me right now that he had a dream about my dad, and my dad wanted to know something. So, call him as we get through with this. And I've had like 3 dreams of my dad since he's passed, and all the dreams I've had of him, he never talks to me. He never said like one word. So it's just weird that my nephew would text me and tell me that he said something to him. Yeah, man, dude, we got so much more to talk about, so much more I want to tell you guys. But, we're already up on our hour here. Is there anything you want to tell the folks on how to get in touch with you if they got any questions or answers or suggestions, or they've got encounters they want to share with you guys, or Tom, if you want to share where they can get your book, man, feel free to do
Okay.
that.
All right. Well, I have 5 books. They are here, volume 1, 2, and 3. Eastern U.S., Central U.S., and Western U.S. And Going Interstellar, and my latest book, Earthquakes and UFOs. They're all purchasable through Amazon. And if you were to log on to Amazon and search by my proper name, Thomas W. Conwell, Conwell, and you should get most of them. There's one that I'm still struggling trying to get it to come up, and it just doesn't come up right on Amazon. So that's unfortunate, but I'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, if you get it figured out, send me the link and I'll share it to my group.
Okay. Alrighty. And let's see. I am very active on Facebook. My address on Facebook is Tom period Conwell .3. Tom.Conwell.3. And you could look me up there and send me a note on Messenger and tell me you heard me here, and I'll approve your request. Please, no politics. I don't like to talk about politics stuff. But other than that, I am constantly posting about UFOs on the internet. Also, everything that I post is in public, so anybody can read it, or you could just follow me. So everything is readable. So I guess I'm not doing too much other than I have a couple of Facebook talks that I'm giving. One is this coming Friday, and that's only for a particular group. And I'm giving another talk in October for a large UFO group, and that's about it. What I'm doing, I certainly do a whole lot of these. I have 3 or 4 podcasts coming up, so this is a lot of fun. Loving doing them.
Tim?
I actually go out and do conventions. Besides the paranormal stuff, I'll be at Gettysburg this Thursday. Thursday, but it starts Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a huge event. It's in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It's a good event that everybody needs to go to because it's for the soldiers, wounded soldiers, kind of thing. Then I'll be in another event out in Sleepy Hollow. I believe that's the end of October. That's in New York. I'm slowly around, getting around with that, but I'm also going out doing paranormal investigations. So I do a lot of New York stuff, slowly into Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, a couple in Pennsylvania. So I'll be more up in the Northeast because traveling and all that. I don't think I'm going to go to, California and go, oh, let's go visit a ship and fly back to, the next day. It's not going to happen. Paranormal hangover is bad. But you can find me on Facebook, Tim Conwell. You can see my mug there, so you can find me. I post about UFOs and about paranormal stuff. I also have Instagram. I need to get back out, but I go out to cemeteries and take some photos. Trying to get back into the art world in so many ways because I have 2 degrees in art. So I'm trying to get in that. Pretty much, I do some podcasts and some other stuff on Facebook with some friends I know. So I'm not in a full show like once a week or whatever the case would be, but every once in a while, be on someone's.
Yeah. And guys, if you guys want to get in touch with them and you can't for whatever reason, get in touch with me. I'll shoot them a message. And, I'm pretty visible on Facebook, so and of course here on my podcast too. So if you can't get in touch with these guys, let me know and I'll get in touch with them for you.
Absolutely.
Great.
Other than that, and I appreciate you guys coming on tonight. And like I said, I gotta have you guys on. There's so much more I want to talk to you guys about. Get your opinions.
Anytime.
Yeah, man. And thanks to everybody in the chat room. So you guys did a great job as always. And good night, everybody. You too, guys.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.